misconceptions about coaching, I think that the biggest issue there is what the heck is a coach? Because there's a whole bunch of different types of coaches. And if you're looking for coach type A and you're thinking about hiring, well, you're presented with coaching type B or C, it's not going to work. You're not going to get what you're going to get out of it. It'll be an unfulfilling experience, and it'll cost a lot of money along the way, right? So I think maybe what we should do is kind of define different types of coaching. And once people understand that, then you can say, okay, for me at this particular point of my organization's life, of my particular professional growth, I need this kind of coach versus this versus this. There's nothing wrong with each of these types of coaches. They're just different types of coaching for different purposes. There may be a whole bunch of others, but I think this is the easy framework for me. Probably the most standard type of coach that you might run into is one who's actually formally trained. They'll probably have some ICF, International Coaching Federation, credentials. They've done this for a number of people. They subscribe to a number of ethics. And the standard methodology, and I know I'm simplifying these so if anyone's, excuse me, a coach listening to this, my apologies for that. It's very effective for what it is. And the idea here is that the coach can bring out and surface some of the stuff that you actually have inside of your knowledge base and your experience already, and help you organize it just by asking particularly good questions. And the questions typically follow a framework. And obviously, the more experienced the coach, the better the questions. But the framework is pretty simple, which is, okay, what's your challenge? Okay, gee, why is that a challenge? Can you give me maybe 3 different ways of addressing that challenge? Well, which one is the best? Why do you think that is? What do you think the first step would be to actually resolving it? You know, if you used that particular solution, gee, do you think you could do that by the next time we meet? Oh, no. Is there something preventing you? And that kind of rinse and repeat approach, meeting after meeting, and I am simplifying it, is effectively the way it works. You do not need to be this type of coach to have any domain experience. And that's the power of this kind of coach, because you don't know anything about whatever the particular subject is, or your knowledge base does not have the depth, because your job is to pull out from the particular person and help organize their mind, because they presumably know their business better than you. So that's a traditional business coach. Another type of business coach kind of works on the internals of who you are. Sometimes the word performance coaching comes about. It's a funny kind of name, but the way this type of coaching relationship and ability is very much focused on, call it the psychological testing. The simple version of this type of coach is, well, we're going to put you through a bunch of tests, Myers-Briggs, colors, DISC. There's a whole bunch of these that are actually pretty good. You get your results, and they sort of say, well, because you think like this, or you've got this type of personality, these are the kinds of things that you should work on. And this is how you interact with other people of the same or different styles or behaviors or mindsets or whatever the tool is actually doing. And the coach, who's an expert in that tool, will help you navigate your particular style in relationship with some of the others. And there's some value to that, because these are very interesting descriptive frameworks that help put a label on particular behaviors, attitudes, perspectives, and everything. And once you understand yourself and you sort of clear out your own internal work, if you will, that'll reduce the obstacles for greater performance. So that's kind of a second. A third type of coach, which is where I probably fit in more than anything else, is one where you do bring subject matter expertise to the table. You have been in their shoes before. You have scaled a business to a bigger size. And gee, the challenge is, well, how do I build my business to the next level? Or how do I address some of the complexity or that I might not be as familiar with? And that third type of coaching, I call it growth coaching or business coaching. Sometimes you don't even use the word coach, you use the word advisor. But the idea there is, okay, so what are some of the challenges? Okay, and then you drive through and say, okay, here's a tool that I've used to help do that. Well, what if you looked at it this particular way? Well, when you go to the board, what's the dynamic? Can we talk about how that might work? How might, when you're dealing with a particularly important hire, what are some of those specific questions? Gee, you've got a problem employee or a high potential one. How do we get the most out of those particular people? How do you address issues of market or channel or finance or exit or structure or operations or supply chain, whatever the particular thing is? Presumably that particular coach has got deep subject matter experience, not just a bunch of letters after their name. Mind you, letters after their name probably is a good indicator that they do have a certain knowledge base to actually help address that. Now, these are all three very different models, and any particular coach probably is more in one of these models than the other. But the question that I would ask, if you're thinking about getting a coach for yourself, is, well, what's the problem that you're looking to solve? Is it that, gee, the business has grown and when it was at a certain size, you kind of knew everything? And now that it's grown to much later, you think that perhaps having somebody from the outside can help short circuit and get you where you need to go faster at a lower risk, whatever it is, by effectively renting their experience in brain? Well, that be that business growth coach model. If on the other hand, if you're getting lots and lots of feedback with respect to how you're interacting with other people, excuse me, and a more, I don't want to call it therapeutic, therapist-oriented, assessment-oriented conversation with a skilled professional in that area is what, well, that's where you go. On the other hand, if accountability is a problem, that first model, we're using a more traditional coaching approach, because if the accountability is the problem, well, that's the route you go, right? But it's just a very, very funny thing, all those questions of how do you as a leader get to the next level. Coaching can absolutely help, but you have to make sure that the kind of coaching that you get for you is the kind that will solve the problem that you're actually being faced with. Because otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of money. Yes, of course, it'll make a difference no matter what. There's no wrong answer. But on the other hand, what's the primary obstacle here? Is it lack of knowledge and experience, or is it something else?
Look, it makes